Dear all, welcome to the webinar on Biochemicals of the Future. This is a webinar organized by Natural Resources Institute Finland. I'm Johanna Kohl and I'm moderating this webinar. The webinar will be recorded and as normal you are muted and please put your cameras off. Also that you could utilize the chat for different questions, and the recording will be be found later on in the YouTube channel. So this is first of all these practicalities, and we are now together with Riina Muilumäki just having a couple of opening words and also telling you about the program which is basically based on our just published report on biochemicals, and we will have some flashes on that report. So first we have a short introduction to the forest to fork innovations. Then we go to the world of cosmetics, and also great to have Alan Mavon from Lumene having some comment from the industry side. After that, we visit new bio-based and functional surface treatments for textiles and packaging. And what's important, of course, is to have the market part as well, the sustainable finance. And it's also great to have a comment from EU Commission, Wim Hertjens, and then we conclude, and hopefully we will have a really forward-looking and future-oriented innovative session on the biochemicals. I welcome you all again, and let's go on. So I would start this session with the really big picture, the global picture, in a sense that as we know that the times are challenging at the moment, and when it comes also to the GDP growth, US and China are overtaking Europe in many ways. And my question for you all is that is bioeconomy one answer to the discussions when it comes also to the open strategic autonomy in Europe? What kind of new innovative solutions from bioeconomy we could get? Maybe we hear something today on that. And not only about the GDP growth as such, I think bioeconomy, biochemicals, they could serve as really many or they could have, so there could be solutions for many of the challenges we are facing at the moment. And I challenge you to think about the changes in our operational environment and where the bioeconomy, the biochemicals could be an answer, of course, in a sustainable way. So green transition, maybe interchanging of the word or order, power of technology, new technology solutions, but also that the world is really unpredictable at the moment. So is there something that could come from the bioeconomy side to make it more predictable? So the field of bioeconomy is changing also a lot, and hopefully we get today a couple of new innovative answers what the future could look like. We need a lot of hope, and hope in the bioeconomy has been put together from different sectors by Luke. We did kind of position papers on how bioeconomy should be included into EU industrial policy to make it more stronger. We should maybe need a more cross-sectoral EU level policy actions for the industrial bioeconomy side, and also that we are not looking only small scales, but also thinking about from piloting to upscaling new value-added products, and also considering also the future regional solutions based on bioeconomy. So we need a lot of hope, and I hope hope is also today here present. Please, Riina, tell about the report, what was just published.
Hello, I'm Riina Muilumäkelä and I work as a research manager in circular program in Natural Resources Institute and as a senior scientist too. And I was one of the editors of this Outlook paper. And the aim was to write an outlook on bio-based valuable chemicals and related research at Luke and more generally, and to assess the future of the biochemical markets. Many different types of biomasses are produced in different regions, and the yield and quality of biomasses varies greatly, of course. And also then the systematic societal change is needed to reorganize all the actors along the value chain to make production of new products profitable. So, main and side streams are separated into different fractions that contain many different valuable chemicals, and they can be extracted by using various processing technologies. For some valuable compounds, there is already a clear market demand, but then also new components can be found, and those components or compounds can be utilized in new ways. And the main objective and driving force of bio-based economy is to replace harmful chemicals and fossil chemicals with bio-based ones and support sustainable development. So soon you will hear presentations on valuable biochemicals based on applications in textiles and packaging solutions, in cosmetics, and as food and feed ingredients. But at this stage, I would also like to highlight that this report also includes a case study chapter, which is concentrating on Park biorefinery concept and evaluates the potential value of wood bark if it could be used to produce a range of valuable biochemicals. And this chapter starts on page 55. Then another interesting topic to be highlighted is platform chemicals and bioglues. Biomasses contain a wide range of compounds that can be used as basic chemicals that form the basis for many end products. For example, it's possible to isolate compounds from biomasses that can be used to make bioglues and adhesives for construction materials. And there is also a table in this paper summarizing these compounds, this type of compounds. And in Luke, we also have an innovation, this wood bioglue innovation, and it can be separated using environmentally friendly green technologies. So please have a look on chapter 8 as well. But now I wish you an interesting webinar, and feel free also to write comments on the chat box.
Yeah, thanks, Riina. And you will find the report. Now it's shown here as well, but also in the chat later on. And as Riina said, put your comments in the chat, please. But now we start, and I welcome Jose Martin Ramos Diaz from Luque, and we go forest to fork innovations. Please, floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Sharing my presentation now. Let me know if you can see it. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jose Martin Ramos Diaz. I am a senior scientist in Luque. And yeah, the title of my presentation is Nutritional and Functional Ingredients for Food Products, Forest to Fork. So in this presentation, I will I will talk about mostly that compounds and materials that can be extracted from side streams, the challenges associated to these kind of projects, and where this material can come from. In the slides, you can see that we could obtain, we get side streams from agricultural and forest industry, especially in Finland, in generous amounts. But also we get a biomass from, side streams from fish and meat industry. So you can see that in both cases, we get materials that generally are considered of low value. In the case of agriculture and forest side streams, we get green biomass such as roots, stems, and leaves, flowers, etc., that may have little or no, don't play a big role in the industry. On the other hand, we on the meat fish side, we have, for example, fish heads, skin, bones, and also meat organs or blood that are scarcely utilized, and in Europe at least. So knowing this, we know that these materials, although they could have valuable phytochemicals, they have interesting material that can be used for textile or also for food. They have a very low value that could be considered a liability as well, because the producer of this side stream has to think how to dispose of this material in the most in a way that it doesn't harm the environment, or it has to be transformed into something, or has to stabilized. So this becomes a big problem if you think about the huge amounts of material that is not used. So in this project, in this report, we were actually trying to go in one step in this direction, and try to point out the different materials that originally have a low value, but that could turn into something valuable. In this case, we have, for example, proteins that can be extracted from grass, meat organs, or fish bones, because these proteins have foaming properties, emulsifying properties, and really good nitrogen solubility, to name few. In the case of hydrolysates and peptides, also Luke has considerable expertise in that area, particularly linked to dairy products. But in this case, we could use fish side streams, for example, to obtain these hydrolysates and peptides, whose properties are generally linked to taste enhancing, maybe could have techno-functional activities, potential health effects. But that's a very tricky thing to say or to claim, because it requires a vast amount of proof behind it. So we are like kind of on like giving the first baby steps in that direction, but still it's good to consider these materials these compounds can be obtained from fish. We also can obtain phytochemicals from, for example, unedible stems, leaves, and roots of side streams from agriculture. The properties these chemicals can provide us maybe linked to biostimulation, biopesticides activity, perhaps some kind of skincare applications. Beauty industry could be interested in phytochemicals obtained from these agricultural side streams. And finally, we have polyphenols, which has been generally linked to berries, especially in Finland. But polyphenols can also be obtained from cereals and maybe from non-cereal grains. Why? Because polyphenols have been linked already for many years to potential anti-carcinogenic or having a health targeting activities. Again, this is a very tricky thing to say or to claim, because it needs a lot of, backing and proofs behind it. So I was taking a risk of making this small graph which telling that if we want to make the most out of these low cost materials, we have to choose like a route of processing or transformation route. This route, of course, in this case, as you can see in the image, it might take two paths, towards a stabilization. But the point I wanted to make is that in order to increase perhaps the TR value by maintaining a low level of investment, we have to consider seriously dry or mechanical pneumatic methods of transformation. Because they will probably increase the TR values without having necessarily to increase the associated cost of these materials. The more refined we want the material to be, the more, of course, the investment has to be higher. And well, it can go all the way up depending on what you're looking for. But basically, we have to seriously think or study the context before attempting to modify side streams. Why we have to ask ourselves these questions? Is the material we're trying to work with food grade or not? I don't know. Are there suitable industrial facilities available for the transformation? Can we use existing techniques or technology so we can bypass certain development stages? The current laws are making the commercialization of that potential product difficult, easy, or what? Can this concept perhaps might not be applicable in Finland, but could be applicable abroad, somewhere else? So is there any current or future need for this material, whatever we want to work with? So this is questions that we seriously should ask ourselves before we venture into working with one of those mainstream materials, especially if we're thinking seriously of obtaining a marketable, attractive product for the market. So the final remarks I could make before my time's over is that there's sufficient know-how to extract valuable compounds from side streams, at least in Luke. However, the challenges still remain. What are techno-economic paths to follow to make this process feasible? And also, the EU laws may prevent ingredients from obtained from edible side streams to perhaps re-enter the food chain, or non-edible side streams to enter the food chain. Because of health or like safety measures, it's difficult to really to know what kind of materials could have a potential for food or for something else. So and also we need to consider the possibility of growth now more than ever, growth outside EU to into markets that could be more welcoming and could be culturally adapted to the product we intend to develop. I think that is very important to consider. So just giving some general frame of what to consider to work on side streams from forest to fork. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Martin. How interesting everything, and I think you just had so many questions also to be answered later on, and maybe someone would like to put in the chat some question for you, and but really interesting. Of course, if there is some quick question, I think we could have a really quick one, but are we just... But maybe I ask you myself that what do you think is the most challenging at the moment, when we also know that the world is changing so rapidly all the time? What is now the biggest challenge at the moment?
That's difficult to say, because maybe what I consider challenging today might not be tomorrow, or maybe what we take things for granted now might not be tomorrow. Now we are living through very difficult, very unpredictable times. So it's hard to say, but the thing is that I think that for cultural reasons, there are some type of products that might not be easily adaptable in Europe. However, the circumstances might push us into products that we are not culturally used to, but we have to do it because we don't have many options in the future, especially if the international trade might be disrupted. So we just have to think about I think probably EU will notice that we cannot, of course, we have to consider safety as a paramount thing, but also we have to maybe take up new or change our dietary habits into more sustainable type of products. Protein then doesn't necessarily come from the best part of the animal, but maybe other parts that we used to be a bit picky about, because that's that different changing times.
Yes.
We cannot be that picky as we think we could.
Yes. Thanks for that. And maybe there will be some continuous in the chat. Thanks, Martin. And now we go on some other totally different directions at the moment, but I think at least as interesting as the former topic. So let's invite Hanna Brännström from Luke and about the bio-based cosmetic solutions as the future of sustainable beauty. So Hanna, please.
Thank you for the introduction and good afternoon, everyone. Let me just adjust the slide. So now I think you are able to see. Yeah. So I'm going to present this material, which I have compiled together in collaboration with two other scientists, Susan Kunnas and Nora Papp. And let's then move on. The beauty and personal care industry is a huge market, and it was valued at approximately 525 billion euros in 2023. It's also a market which continues to grow. There's also a rising preference for natural ingredients, especially for plant-based extracts, due to their perceived safety, sustainability, and effectiveness. Let's then talk briefly about the drivers for replacement of fossil-based and synthetic chemicals. Firstly, consumers and regulatory bodies are pushing for ethical sourcing of ingredients. This means ensuring responsible harvesting and traceability of raw materials. Natural ingredients often have a lower carbon footprint and they are biodegradable, making them a more sustainable option. However, the environmental benefits must be demonstrated, for example, through life cycle assessment. Policy frameworks also promote bio and circular economies, and consumers and regulators prioritize cosmetic safety. And this also drives demand for natural ingredients and for more transparent ingredient lists. Additionally, a major opportunity lies in the valorization of byproducts from other manufacturing processes for cosmetics. Due to limited presentation time, I present only a few examples how cosmetic ingredients can be replaced with natural ingredients. Essential oils and biowaxes from plants provide scents. Phenolic-rich plant extracts act as antioxidants and antimicrobials, and thus as preservatives. Natural pigments from berries and bark offer a safe alternative for synthetic dyes. And plant-based lecithin and biowaxes stabilize formulations and act as emulsifiers. The integration of green chemistry principles promotes the environmentally sustainable valorization of side streams. For example, in our currently ongoing Business Finland funded project, we are developing cascade processing for food industry and forestry side streams. Here's outlined roughly the processing scheme for lingonberry press cakes from juice production. Sequential eco-friendly extraction is utilized to maximize bioactive compound recovery. In the first phase, supercritical fluid extraction or steam distillation is carried out to separate biovax or essential oils for food, cosmetics, and coating applications. Secondly, solvent extractions are carried out to obtain polyphenol-rich extracts for food and cosmetic applications. In some cases, wax and other extracts are further refined before their end use. After extractions, the solid residue can be processed to isolate fibers. The natural bioactive properties of extracts can enhance the value of cosmetic products by providing functional benefits such as antioxidant and antimicrobial effects. Lingonberry waxes from juice industry side streams show antibacterial activity against Staphylococcus aureus and Escherichia coli. In cosmetics, their inhibition effect on Staph aureus, a bacterium commonly found on the skin, is especially valuable. For example, this bacterium is cause of skin infections and respiratory infections. These results here indicate that both the berry-press cakes as such and the extracted waxes have strong antibacterial properties. We have also optimized solvent extraction parameters, temperature, duration, and solvent selection for producing bioactive polyphenol-rich extracts. All lingonberry press cake extracts showed excellent antioxidant and antibacterial activity. And this slide here presents results for ethanol water extracts from our optimization experiments. And these findings I have been presenting here highlight the potential of lingonberry press cake waxes and other extracts as valuable functional cosmetic ingredients. Our collaboration with Lumene is key here, enhancing their functionality in cosmetic formulations. Here is another example of research carried out at Luke. Blackcurrant press cake, spruce bark, and sea buckthorn leaf extracts were tested as active ingredients in moisturizing gel creams. These extracts are rich in antioxidants, such as polyphenols. To stabilize the formulations, hemicellulose fraction extracted from spruce sawdust was tested. It was added to all gel cream samples. Based on the visual monitoring, including composition homogeneity, scent, color, spreadability, and skin feel, these gel cream formulations had promising characteristics. Okay, to conclude, let's move on to the future development of bio-based cosmetic ingredients. The foundation of bio-based cosmetic ingredients is the availability of raw materials. To ensure a sustainable supply, we need to analyze which plant-based sources are most suitable in terms of yield availability, raw material quality, and sustainability. Additionally, we must establish effective and ethical supply chains. Future advancements will also focus on optimizing sustainable processing, ensuring regulatory compliance, and evaluating economic feasibility. A thorough techno-economic analysis helps to determine whether these products can be successfully introduced into the cosmetics market. All in all, the future of cosmetics is likely to witness a significant shift towards green and clean beauty practices, and bio-based ingredients can have a significant role in this transition. However, regulatory compliance and cost effectiveness set some challenges to be tackled in the future. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Hanna. How interesting this as well. And I think you just said also the green and clean industry and the potentials there. And therefore, I think it's just great that we have Lumen and Alan Mavon, your commentary direct after. So how do you see the future? Please, Alan. It was almost there, so we already said it, have seen it once, so now we see your calendar. Now, and you are muted still.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay, now we can hear you, just still the slide set is not visible.
It should
Now
be correct.
Now
Yes.
it's great.
Thank you, and
Please.
sorry for that. So yes, thank you, and a pleasure to speak today on the biochemical of the future. What is our well? There is definitely a huge opportunity for beauty and cosmetic industry, and that's what also has been highlighted by Hanna. But definitely, if I'm just going on to who we are in Lumine, and as you know, probably all of you, the brand, we have been quite a front runner in formulating Nordic and upcycle ingredients for many years. We, as you can see, this cloudberry seed oil extract, which is also a CO2 supercritical fruit extraction, is coming from the seeds, was launched in 2001. So, but we also obviously source many ingredients, not only from the wild, like the berries, but also from agriculture. We are using some ingredients coming from Pfizer, but also some cultivated one, also like the sea buckthorn, and some as well from the forest, in particular. Let's say the black charcoal that we use in mascara coming from Inamost. Here is some percentage of increase of our raw materials, upcycled one that we use in our skincare formulation. So we have, let's say, I've been very much used to, in a way, source from the Nordic nature. Definitely wanted to continue because that's kind of the signature for Lumene. But most important is not just having a Nordic ingredient, it's really delivering skin performance, because that's what consumers are very much interested in. The sustainability aspect is obviously important, it's growing, but first is if I'm buying this product as an example, so what's in it for me? That's what consumers are expecting. And I just wanted to highlight the point. We will select, and that's how we have been selecting so far this extract, maybe not going deep into the chemical analysis, but understanding that Nordic nature provide very strong extract with strong compounds to deliver performance. Again, this example, the core technologies in this facial oil is a mixture of cloudberry and sea buckthorn seed oil, which is naturally enriched in beta carotene, and it's a very interesting ingredient itself, and that's where we build a story as comparison to retinol, which is a synthetic one, obviously, and also worth to mention again, it's the demand for natural ingredients. As we said, they are also very much they are biodegradable, and should have, that's the most important, should have a relevant sustainability profile. So here, typically, we have an ingredients which are ingredients that are more circular, where the retinol is much more linear. Stability here, very interesting. We have a high stability where retinol is not. It's a non-irritant. While retinol is not is irritant. Sorry. So safety obviously is important. And we have some interesting benefits, antioxidant, anti-aging for the sebactone, while retinol is known for anti-aging. And it acts as a precursor. So it delivers some benefits similar to retinol, but slightly lower. One of the bigger challenges is that it's not known. And that's where we have a lot of work to demonstrate why these Nordic ingredients are providing strong benefits. So we have different strategy behind that, but it's how to build awareness to consumer. That's an important step. Still relevant also from a commercial standpoint, we can demonstrate that having a high level of naturality, we have 98% of cycle ingredient, this formula can be relevant, and it's recognized outside. We got this prize last year in a Paris event. And jumping onto this project that Anna referred to, the Bio4P co-innovation project focusing on berries and spruce needle. And I just bring these pictures. It's really where the network, which is I think really important, beside obviously the specific focus on the berries. Worth to mention that Business Finland is funding this project as well, supporting us on that journey. It's how we built, and that will be one of my main conclusions at the end, is how we build the connection between the different parts, from the forest up to the company that are delivering these products that will be fronting the face of consumer. We have some specific need. I will and bring some example. Pfizer is also interested. They have different needs. They need a food grade one. Fjordraven might have some specific needs. So it's how we understand together what are the different needs of the different industry, and making sure that this supply chain, this vertical supply chain, is optimized up to be economically viable, and also including obviously the network of university, because that's where a lot of the knowledge sit. We don't have much equipment ourselves in terms of analytics, for example. So here there are a lot of help that we can get through this collaboration. So some of the basic thing for us is also some of the challenge we have. You can see some little variation of color. It's the berry wax that we started to formulate, but it's the color. So unfortunately, consumer want to have white cream. It started also by our marketing internally, but consumer are expecting white cream. So it's also a part of the education that we are building, considering that natural ingredients, and how colorful they could be, they need to understand that if there is a bit of color, it's okay because it's a natural ingredient. So that's already a small challenges, or small or big challenges. It's how to purify some extract while delivering this formula the consumer will love. Stability, obviously color, these natural ingredients are relevant, but the color is sometimes unstable. And that's also an issue, as we have a shelf life of 3 years for products. So it's how to stabilize the color, even if it's a bit less, so people can spot that difference. And as mentioned by Anna, yes, there's a strong activity. So it's how to bring this activity, antioxidant, for example, which has a lot of skin benefits, but making sure that they are formulating in the right context and are stable, formula stable from a physical standpoint, also from a chemical standpoint. So to summarize, definitely there is a huge reservoir of biochemicals in Nordic nature. You see, focusing on side stream sourcing has a very strong spin on sustainability. There is a resource available. It's also a way to mitigate the cost, and huge opportunity for innovation and value creation. But the journey from nature to market is quite challenging, I would say. We have the high quality resource, as I mentioned. We have also strong level of expertise and knowledge in Finland. But probably what we need is really to collaborate more, strengthen the networks, understanding the different needs and how we can facilitate this integration across the industry, how the governmental organization can support, and also together with academia. So I think that's one of the strong need. What is the aim back to this co-innovation process? Biofop is not just delivering the berry waxes, it's also starting to collaborate stronger and building a vertical supply chain from forest to market. That's where we need to ensure that it delivers environmental benefits. That's what I meant by sustainable. Ethic sourcing, definitely, but also making sure that it's economically viable. So yes, there is a big opportunity, but we need to strengthen our partnership. I think that's my core messages here. And share knowledge. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. And actually, there was already one question about the color, but I think you already answered that we are not yet that far that white would be.
It's really how to, for some product like masks, it's okay, but for leave-on cream, still there's a big demand for white cream, and it's a challenge with natural ingredients, definitely.
Yes.
But we are trying to educate our consumer onto that. That's a big work to do.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. Then another question about the regional origin. How important is it for you?
It's absolutely important. That's the core of Lumene. This is where we built our unique selling point. It's this sourcing ingredient from Nordic nature, and in particular from Finland, and sourcing locally also have a lower footprint. So it's absolutely relevant.
Yeah, thanks. And maybe that one question for Hanna still from Erik Zingas, that do you communicate with the industry to, for example, provide a database of available compounds? I think you shortly answered it, but if you would like to clarify it a bit, then please, Hanna.
Yeah, thank you for a good question. And definitely we do collaborate with the industry and would like to collaborate even more in the future in order to best proceed with our research ideas and bring them forward to something new, to develop new products out of our ideas. So that's definitely something where we need this collaboration.
Yes, thanks. And if there is something still more specific on that in your mind, maybe in continuing in the chat on that. But if there are no other questions at the moment, I assume no. So thanks for this cosmetics part, and we move on. We will have a dialogue now. Risto Korpinen and Susan Kunnas from Luke. Please tell us about the bio-based and functional surface treatments for textiles and packaging. Please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nature is our inspiration. For example, plants can defend themselves against the environmental stress, insects and diseases by using their secondary metabolism products such as waxes and essential oils. The exploration of nature-inspired innovations is an important approach to mimicking interesting properties from nature in bio-based surface treatments. Chemical coatings are used in everyday products, such as protective textiles, rain clothes, fire-protecting clothing, packaging, cookware, paints. These coatings include per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, which are further called forever chemicals, because these chemicals are non-biodegradable and do not break down. Forever chemicals are harmful and even toxic to humans and environment, and they are released in water and air, contaminating groundwater and soil. In the past 20 years, the EU has taken increasing action to tackle PFAS pollution, and now the Commission has imposed restrictions on these chemicals.
Surface treatment is crucial for fiber-based packaging to enhance and improve several key properties. For instance, it's essential to ensure strong adhesion between the coating, inks, glues, and the fiber surface. Improved wettability guarantees that labels, prints, and seals remain intact, making processes such as printing and coating more effective. Additionally, surface treatment enhances the visual appeal of the packaging and provides specific functional properties such as barrier resistance, static elimination, and increased durability. Important barrier properties include resistance to moisture, oxygen, grease, and other environmental factors. To achieve these properties, conventional coating materials such as polyethylene, aluminium, paraffin wax, synthetic latexes, and inorganic materials like kaolin, calcium carbonate, and titanium dioxide have been used. While polyethylene, paraffin, and latexes can be recycled, they are derived from fossil raw materials.
Thousands of different chemicals are used in textile treatments. Textile coatings augment the value of the textile products by enhancing the feel, performance, and appearance of the fabrics. For example, fabrics are usually wrinkle-free, anti-static, or breathable. Textile coatings can protect the fibers and also the wearer against microbes, water, stains, scratches, abrasion, heat, and UV radiation. The chemicals that are nowadays used in textile coatings are fossil-based materials, harmful and toxic forever chemicals. For waterproofing coatings, conventionally fluorocarbons, resins, paraffin, or silicone are used. For antimicrobial protection, for example, metal nanoparticles and triclosan are added to the fabrics. Not to mention the textile dyeing, which is one of the most polluting industry. Here are shown just a few examples of the dyeing chemicals, including azo dyes, lead and chromium, phthalates and chlorine bleach, and so on.
Bio-based chemical production does not automatically mean sustainable production. For example, carnauba wax, while being bio-based, may not always be produced in a sustainable way. Additionally, the price of bio-based coatings can be higher compared to their fossil-based counterparts, which can impact their adaptation. Bio-based surface treatments often face challenges in stability and may not perform as well in everyday life, in particular in abrasion and durability tests. Furthermore, biocolor variation is quite limited, and bio-based colorants may not be as vibrant or consistent as synthetic alternatives. Bio-based surface treatments different end products have varying regulatory requirements and consumer expectations. These regulations can cover aspects such as safety, environmental impact, and performance standards, which has to be met to ensure market acceptance and compliance.
Our solution is to design sustainable and profitable value and production chains of bio-based materials. The raw materials under research are logging residues, agricultural and food byproducts, and underutilized natural products. First stages are separation and pre-treatments of the raw material, like drying. The idea is to separate all the important fractions of the biomass by cascade processing, so the optimization of all the extraction conditions is very important. In addition, we analyze the techno-economic feasibility and the life cycle assessment of the processes. For surface treatments and packaging and textiles, the most promising oil and wax fractions and the solvent extracts will be formulated to different coating materials.
Here are two examples of packaging solutions derived from side streams. One example utilizes a side stream from the forest industry, specifically birch bark and especially birch outer bark. After separation processes, a material called suberin is obtained, and suberin can be processed into a water-based dispersion which can be used to coat paperboard. The paperboard coating has excellent barrier properties against moisture and oxygen. In the second example, a fish side stream from the food industry is processed into gelatin. This gelatin is then transformed into a translucent material with functional properties that can replace plastic films. The resulting material not only offers a sustainable alternative to traditional plastic films, but also retains the necessary durability and flexibility for various packaging applications. By utilizing side streams, these innovative solutions contribute to waste reduction and promote the efficient use of resources.
For the extractions of fat-soluble biowaxes, we have used a fluid-state carbon dioxide as a solvent. Carbon dioxide is a gas, but when we set the temperature and pressure above critical conditions, carbon dioxide will be a fluid and it will extract also the temperature-sensitive chemical compounds such as aromas and fragrances really well. The method is environmentally friendly. Carbon dioxide is recycled and it does not leave any solvent residues that should be removed afterwards. Biowaxes from logging residues, pesticide streams and plants are mostly antibacterial or even antifungal. So these coatings can protect against moisture and microbes at the same time. After the separation of biowax, the biomass residue of the wax extraction is left with phenol-rich extractives remaining, so we can extract these valuables with water and various environmentally friendly and food-grade solvents. Of course, we may not do the solvent extractions also directly to the raw material, for example, spruce bark, and produce tannin-rich extracts to be used as biodyes or antibacterial and antiviral coating chemicals. Latest news of our results are that these coated materials have preserved the antibacterial, antifungal and antiviral properties really well. In addition, our textiles coated with biodyes have had very promising color, light and washing fastness properties.
And to conclude our presentation, so point 1, so there's an urgent need for bio-based chemicals. Point 2, fossil-based materials can be replaced with bio-based ones. And point 3, there are many side streams in the industry that are currently only used for energy, but could be utilized more efficiently. However, we need to design the process for bio-based chemicals from the beginning.
And point 4, the production of bio-based materials is still expensive, but this can be improved during the research and, for example, with tax matters. Point 5, the EU regulation may also slow down the entry of new innovations to the market, so the legislation must be accounted from the very beginning for the research process. And point 6, the biochemicals produced by Luke have proven to be very promising for the coatings and biocolors of textiles and packaging materials, and the research and cooperation with companies will continue.
And finally, we are listing here some projects relates to the surface treatment of textiles and fiber-based packaging. And we would like to thank especially Business Finland, European Union, and the Research Council of Finland for the financial support. And finally, we would like to acknowledge some of our project partners with whom we have had close collaboration. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks a lot. I will continue directly. Here's a question for you, or actually a couple. Does the superin or fish side stream based product provide heat seal properties on top of barrier properties? Aino Voipio just asked. Maybe you can continue also in the chat, but
I can shortly say about the fish side stream. I don't know about this, but for the superin, the project is going on with our project partners.
Okay. And then there was also about the CO2 with spruce bark. Does it work? Did you try it?
We haven't tested CO2 with spruce bark, but
yeah, there have been hot water extractions for the spruce bark.
Okay. Is that something, the CO2 is somehow a hot topic, so have you considered to continue with that somehow?
We can carry out that kind of work as well if it's needed.
Yeah, I think it's just so hot all the time, the CO2. Yeah. If you consider, what is the most maybe you were talking about the durability and especially the potential of the dyes, for example. So what is the biggest challenge at the moment? Is it more like the scaling up, or really like what do you think biggest challenge, or the industry?
Biggest challenge is what we are now facing and tackling in research are the darker shades of biodyes, and because the original, for example, black pigment is the most poisonous and toxic, so we want to replace that also. And of course the light fastness properties of biodyes, but now we have got quite good promising results, so we know how to continue the development of those dyes.
Okay, thanks. Any other question directly from the audience? And of course you can also put into the chat. Maybe then later on we come back to the regulation. We will have Commission representative here, and I think you had quite direct greetings also for the EU that regulation can be challenging also, and prohibiting new innovations, and maybe we get back to that later on. But at this point then thanks a lot, Risto and Susan. Was just really interesting as well to have your presentation. And we move on to the finance, market-based tools for change and sustainable finance. And Esa-Jussi Viitala from Luke, please, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Johanna, and good afternoon from my side. My connection is a little bit weak, so it might be better if I turn off my camera straight away.
Yeah, I put it in the presentation mode still. Thanks.
Just a moment. Okay, so you can see the slides now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm talking about sustainable finance and valuable biochemicals, and like Susan said, the EU regulation might slow down the entry of new innovation, but on the other hand, it can also speed that up, promote innovation and new business models. So sustainable finance, something background, maybe this is quite familiar with people are familiar with this, but this is the reason for sustainable finance. So it is the background is EU's objectives and commitments, especially the environmental commitments and objectives related to Agenda 2030, the Paris Agreement, and the EU's own climate targets and the biodiversity targets. And then EU has also other environmental objectives and commitments, action plans, zero pollution, water framework directive, circular economy, so on. So at the same time, the EU aims for a modern, resource efficient and competitive economy. So how to integrate these objectives? That's the key question. That's the big question. And then we can go and turn to the capital markets, because they have a lot of power. They decide the capital allocation, and what we are not lacking is capital at the moment in Western world. So the idea is that more and cheaper capital to those economic activities that solve environmental and social problems, and less and more expensive capital to those activities that create those problems. So in principle, very simple, but how do you then implement this? So I have listed some key elements of the EU sustainable finance. We have the taxonomy. It's a transparent classification system of activities, what is sustainable. And it's generally it's distinguishing the best of class performers and business models in environmental sense, and to certain aspect also in social sustainability sense. Then we have integrated into taxonomy the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. It is an obligation for large size companies to report their material sustainability related matters to investors and end users and the society. And what is new here is that they have to do this in a transparent and harmonized way. That's the key here. Then we have the banks and asset managers. For them, there's a new regulation, Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation, and also the Green Bond Standards, which is voluntary. But these are tied also with the taxonomy and the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. And then we have some regulation that aim to ensure a level playing field for our companies, no greenwashing, including value chains. We have the Empowering Consumers regulation in force. A Green Claims Directive is still in legal process, and then we have the CSDDD, which will probably go under some changes, but at the moment it is in force. And then we have sustainability requirements for products. We have the new eco design regulation, and we will have the deforestation-free products regulation, which will be enforced this year, December. We have, of course, other regulations, but these are mostly linked with the sustainable finance. The EU taxonomy, it's a voluntary sustainability classification system for economic activities. It is not directly for companies, although companies have to report their taxonomy alignment. As you know, 6 environmental objectives, and the criteria for sustainability in this framework or structure is that you have to produce some substantial contribution to one environmental objective. You can choose it. And at the same time, you cannot do significant harm to any other objectives, and those criteria are also developed for those. And then you have the minimum social safeguards like human rights, labor rights, and so on, indigenous people. three types of activities in general: own performance activities, like the performance of the activity, economic activity as such. For example, reduces greenhouse gas emissions. And then we have an enabling activity like the manufacture of energy efficiency equipment for buildings. It enables that buildings will be low emissions, will produce low emissions or reduce emissions. And then we have transitional activities, and I picked one here related to chemicals. Manufacture of organic basic chemicals. The transitional activity means that it has quite large emissions at the moment, but it is in the pathway to reduce those emissions substantially in the next years. So these are the 6 objectives, and we have the criteria is constructed in the Climate Delegated Act concerning the 2 climate objectives, and then we have an Environmental Delegated Act which came into force in the beginning of 2024. So note that these are quite new criteria. If we think about the biochemicals, then I went through the taxonomy criteria, and I picked some activities, economic activities, which come closest to manufacturing of biochemicals. First, we have in the taxonomy under climate change mitigation, we have manufacture of organic basic chemicals. We have different kinds of chemicals there. Some of those chemicals can be produced from, for example, wood-based feedstocks, and they actually will be this year already. Then we have manufacture of a carbon black. It is also a potential for biochemical or biorefineries to produce carbon black, and we have one case again that will produce the carbon black out of wood this year, or starting the operation in Germany. And then we have manufacture of plastics in primary form, and we have the recycling component, but then we have a third option that you use renewable feedstocks. That means bioplastics or bio-based plastics. The terminology is a little bit vague, but then you use agricultural biomass or forest biomass. We come to the issue of sustainable feedstocks in these cases a little bit later. When we go a little bit deeper to the manufacture of organic basic chemicals, what do we have here? We have requirements for substantial contribution to climate change mitigation. There are requirements for greenhouse gas emissions in the production processes. Thresholds are set for different products, and the thresholds reflect the 10% most efficient installations a few years ago, or almost 10 years ago. And then one key requirement is that you have to have an independent third-party verification. And then the B is that if you produce these organic basic chemicals from renewable feedstocks, that is taxonomy aligned. If the greenhouse gas emissions of the manufactured chemicals are lower than those in the equivalent chemical manufactured from fossil fuel feedstocks. And here again, you have the sustainability criteria for biomass feedstocks. It comes from RED, Renewable Energy Directive, and it is you can anticipate that also the EU deforestation regulation will step in here. And then there are the do no significant harm criteria, which cover the other 5 objectives. I don't go to those in detail. But what is the sustainable renewable feedstock in taxonomy in these economic activities? They come from RED III regulation or directive, which is transposed to national legislation by May this year, so very soon. Forest biomass, it is not to be sourced from primary forests, old growth forests, protected forests, from highly biodiverse forests, land with high carbon stock that has been drained after 2008. The biomass doesn't come from wetlands. And then we have similar requirements for sustainability regarding agricultural biomass. It is not, these are very similar to the forest biomass, but then again, you have some like grasslands here and heathlands. These are not all the requirements, but maybe the most prominent.
Okay,
so
maybe your concluding words. Yeah. Please.
Yes, final remarks. So I would like to emphasize that the taxonomy criteria, they are designed to be technology neutral. So biochemicals have no special status in taxonomy at the moment, but taxonomy has been quite powerful tool in allocating capital in energy and transport sectors, but its impact on biochemicals manufacturing have been very modest. There are some reasons for that, but the manufacturing of valuable biochemicals, they need both market push and pull. It's a question of regulation and voluntary actions and incentives also. So regarding taxonomy, would it be useful to include the manufacturing of biochemicals more extensively to taxonomy? And if so, how this could be done? So I put here 3 options. We include a new economic activity as such, which might be a little bit problematic because we have so wide variety of products. Then we can put a new economic activity and put it more in a granular way, like putting subcategories there. But one of the questions is what will be the environmental objective then? It is not necessarily the same for all products. And the third option is that we try to include biochemicals in the current structure more strongly. And also the taxonomy does not currently include food and beverage production. So when it comes there are some opportunities, and also agriculture is not included, and textiles. So these I think are the 3 options for inclusion.
Thank
and promoting bio-based and biochemicals. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Esa Jussi. Really interesting, and your presentation is actually there is willingness to have it, if possible, later on. But now I think we move directly to the commentary from EU Commission, and I welcome Wim Haatiens from EU Commission and you are from DG Research and Innovation. So please go ahead. And if you have any comments to all of those presentations, please.
Yeah, thank you, Johanna. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Indeed, my name is Wim Haatiens. I work at the European Commission at DG Research and Innovation in the unit dealing with bioeconomy and food systems. And thank you for inviting me to this webinar. It's a very interesting report. And what I will try to do shortly here is to give you a little bit of feedback on how we look at the bioeconomy and the policies related to it. So first of all, maybe coming back on the first speakers, what can the bioeconomy deliver? The bioeconomy is an answer indeed to many challenges. And for that reason, it's clear that the bioeconomy is a priority of the Commission. I think if I look at what it can do, the promise is that it holds, then I can think of competitiveness improvements. It can help Europe to make a success of the green transition. It can help us to decarbonize, to defossilize. It, in these current geopolitical times with intense international competition on resources, it can help us to have a better strategic autonomy of resources, but also the new business models, the new products that it brings forward, like the ones that have been shown here, can reinforce the viability and the competitiveness of rural areas. That's also important. So all these things have been recognized by the different Commission services to say, yes, the bioeconomy can indeed provide an answer to challenges. We see that in practice politically because the bioeconomy has been one of the key initiatives, or the bioeconomy strategy has been one of the key initiatives that has been mentioned in a key document that has appeared recently called the Competitiveness Compass. And the Competitiveness Compass outlines the challenges that Europe is facing now, and for different challenges, it outlines what the key policy actions will be. And the bioeconomy strategy is mentioned as a key activity to close the innovation gap. So the policy should help us to deploy innovations quicker. But in the Clean Industrial Deal, it's also mentioned as a key strategy for decarbonizing, for increasing the competitiveness. And also in the Vision for Agriculture and Food, the bioeconomy strategy, which is planned for the end of this year, is mentioned as being very important to help farmers become more sustainable in their activities, but also more competitive. So it's definitely on the update of the bioeconomy strategy is important, planned for end of this year, led by Commissioner for the Environment and for Competitive Circular Economy, Commissioner Roswell. But it's clear, and this presentation is an example of that. It's clear that research and innovation is key, a key element in the bioeconomy strategy, and will continue to be so. And that's why our Commissioner Zaharieva, who is responsible for startups, research and innovation, is a key contributor to this policy. The preparations of the bioeconomy strategy are ongoing, which means that not just research and innovation, but also Agri, Mare, the internal market people, the finance people, and so on, all the different parts of the Commission are involved. And soon we will also open a public consultation where we will ask stakeholders and the research and innovation community what should be done under the new bioeconomy strategy. There will be a public consultation that will be opened soon in the coming weeks, where we can receive position papers and where the general public will be able to also have a questionnaire where they can give their opinion on the bioeconomy strategy. In addition to that, there will be a number of workshops that will be organized to gather more input on what can be done. But the key question will be, of all the innovations that you've outlined here also today, how can we deploy them faster? And what has also been said by many of you, how can we deploy that in a place-based context? Because the capacities locally on biomass and bioresources will differ. And yeah, the context differs also, the supply chains differ and so on. So if you want to scale up solutions, there will be it will be important to take into account this context. Also, for example, to put the cascading use in practice. To do that, a cross-cutting whole of government approach that is needed. Solution-driven, maybe technology agnostic, but solution-driven. Systemic, not focusing on one benefit, but on multiple benefits. And involving value chains, new ones and existing ones. Collaboration will indeed have to be facilitated, and I agree with the previous speaker that there's a role for government there. So let's see also which kind of actions that we can take there. Of course, regulation will be important. There are barriers. Can they be addressed? Can regulatory sandboxes be put in practice in a place-based context? What kind of incentives do we need to stimulate emerging markets? Can we have mandates for bio-based content in products? Those are all elements that are being looked at and for which also we welcome your opinion in the context of the public consultation. So to conclude, maybe your report is great. It brings together different solutions and their potential, because we do agree that bioeconomy does provide an answer. But there's many challenges also to know exactly what the potential is commercially also, and also to think what that would mean in terms of sustainable biomass supply, which is an important element. Some reports have forecasted a biomass gap for materials and energy in 2050. How to mitigate that will be an important policy task. But deploying faster, taking into account the techno-economic feasibility, as one of the speakers said it, is important. And to be fully aware of the context to advance the bioeconomy will be important. So that's what the bioeconomy strategy will do, and your report is definitely welcome, a welcome contribution to that. I'll leave it at that, Johanna. Happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Yes, thanks a lot. And I think one of those is maybe how to then deploy faster is maybe is a question, and there's no one solution for sure. But maybe one question, it can be for you also others. What specific regulatory incentives are in place for EU companies to replace fossil-based chemicals, such as those made using natural gas for processing industry? A big question for you, for sure. But you have any answer?
Well, we are. I don't have a precise answer to that, but I think we are looking into that. The use of biomass for different value chains doesn't always compete on a level playing field with, for example, energy use. So there are that is something that we are looking at, and in addition, we might look at how we can incentivize bio-based products or the use of biomass in products. So more a general answer as to look at what is the set of regulations actually that does incentivize, and what is needed to ensure a level playing field while still wanting to promote these bio-based materials.
Yes, thanks. And Esa-Jussi, if you have something to add on this, or anyone on the second question is about what are key market barriers for small volume renewable side streams entry to market? I think at least some of those are just the consumer attitudes, as we heard earlier, but any other market barriers? Do you have Wim or someone else?
If I may jump in, I think that it's not as a company you want to build your business in a relatively stable context. And I think the side streams, you also expect some kind of a stable supply of them.
Yeah.
And that is not always easy in a market that is emerging and is sometimes inherently intransparent. So, but I see, for example, when I see in some regions biomass hubs developing that create a bit more transparency, that also facilitate the logistics of bringing together, stabilizing certain side streams, then I think that's a favorable development. I see many of these, what I call biomass hubs, are getting better at bringing together these side streams, and then attract also those that want have the potential to valorize them. So that's definitely for smaller players of concern.
Yeah, but hopefully the regulation will support us as well later on. And it's great to hear that the bioeconomy strategy is open for discussion later and to consult it or give our opinions. That's good to hear. And Esa, you see, you just were visiting the window. If you had something to add on, please just give your comment, and at the same time I invite Riina to join the discussion and maybe if there's some takeaway message you have heard here, so it's good to hear. But Esa, did you have something to add on? No, you maybe, but Riina, what is your takeaway message from this webinar, or the most interesting thing?
Yes. Well, there are definitely lots of challenges in bioeconomy. New innovations, regulation is the one, but then I have the feeling that there are lots of processes going on EU side and on this regulatory side as well to facilitate and also direct the development towards circular bioeconomy issues. So I think that's very important thing, and then of course new innovations and those solutions what we are developing, they are the key thing there, that towards the more sustainable industry. So
yeah, what I have been now listening and hearing, I think the first one is that the nature is a treasure bank. We just have to go in sustainable way with that. So, but there are so many possibilities and new innovations just on the door. And the second thing is that maybe that, as Alan said, that we have to educate the consumers. So that's maybe one, also something that popped into my mind. And then the deployment and regulation part, which is both challenge, but also I need the cross-sectoral collaboration is really needed there as well, so that the on EU level, for example, the industry side is speaking with the bioeconomy and the more with the agri and environment side. I think that's one key issue on that. And maybe Wim, if you just conclude what you have in your mind, and then we are closing soon.
Yeah, I think in addition to the regulation, which is of course important, I think previous speakers have also said that facilitating the collaboration across value chains and within the value chain, I think is key. And I think there is a lot that can happen also to provide the the capacities within regions to bring together this collaboration, and institutes like Lux play an important part there to be this facilitation. But I think from national and EU side, I think more can probably be done to stimulate that. So that's definitely also an area that we're looking at.
Yes. Thanks a lot. And now we are closing the webinar. Thank you all for coming, and also very many thanks to the speakers. And you will find this webinar also in YouTube later on, and the report was mentioned in the chat, and some presentations, if you want, you can be asking for those. So many thanks for this, and have a nice day. Thanks.
Thank you.